What's good, YouTube? Sensational Sincere's here, and I'm back with another Tom Clancy's The Division Vendor Reset video. We're here for December 6, 2019's reset. So let's get right into this to see what we got good for this week. Okay, so for our first gear item, we're going to head over to Camp Hudson. Here, the weapons vendor has an MP7 with a gear score of 279. It has 19.50% crit hit chance, and the talent it has is competent, vicious, and ferocious. For our next gear item, we're going to head over to the base operations. Here, the Dark Zone gear vendor has a Spec Ops pack with the talent Relentless on there. It has a gear score of 279. The armor is 1,326. Its roll for stamina 1,268. And the attributes it has is skill power and ammo capacity. And then also here we have a heavy magazine spring with 3% crit hit chance, 11.50% magazine size, and 11.20% rate of fire. For our next gear items, we're still at the base operations. Here, the weapons vendor has a Super 90 with a gear score of 267. It has 288.50% stagger, and the talents it has is responsive, dominant, and fierce. For our next gear items, we're still at the base operations, and the gear vendor here has a prototype performance mod with 7% support station duration. For our next gear items, we're still at the base operations. Head over to the advanced weaponry vendor, and here we got a military RPK 74M with a gear score of 267. It has 19% damage to targets out of cover, and the talents it has is ferocious, dominant, and vicious. For our next gear items, we're still at the base operations. Head over to the special equipment vendor, and here we got a Cassidy with a gear score of 279. It has 304% stagger, and the talents it has is vicious, brutal, and boomstick. Also here we got a SASG 12 with a gear score of 275. It has 299.50% stagger, and the talents it has is ferocious, capable, and vicious. Also here we got an M249B with a gear score of 275. It has 19% damage to targets out of cover, and the talents it has is destructive, ferocious, and unforgiving. Also here we have operator mask with the talent enduring on there. It has a gear score of 274. The armor is 962. Its roll for stamina 1,215, and the attributes it has is crit chance and disorient resistance. Also here we have a Spec Ops Armor with the talent rapid on there. It has a gear score of 262. The armor is 1,765. Its roll for firearms 1,132. And the attributes it has is enemy armor damage, health on kill, and ammo capacity. Also here we have a prototype stamina mod with 252 stamina and 3,159 skill power. For our next gear item, we're going to head over to the cavern. Here the gear vendor has a prototype performance mod with 5.50% sticky bomb explosion radius. For our next gear items, you want to head over to Kerman's Station. Here the weapons vendor has a classic RPK 74 with a gear score of 276. It has 21% damage to targets out of cover, and the talents it has is deadly, unforgiving, and commanding. For our next gear item, we're going to head over to Camp Clinton. Here the special equipment vendor has a Cassidy with a gear score of 268. It has 292% stagger, and the talents it has is deadly, determined, and you already know the third talent, boomstick. Also here we got a black market M60 E6 with a gear score of 283. It has 21% damage to targets out of cover, and the talents it has is unforgiving, destructive, and swift. Also here we got a tactical pack with the talent Relentless on there. It has a gear score of 278. The armor is 1,320. Its roll for electronics 1,221. And the attributes it has is crit hit damage and burn resistance. Also here we got some tactical gloves with the talent Savaged on there with a gear score of 274. The armor is 929. Its roll for stamina 1,191. And the attributes it has is shotgun damage, crit hit damage, and crit hit chance. Also here we got a heavy magazine spring with 11.50% magazine size, 4% crit hit damage, and 10.20% rate of fire. For our next gear items, you're going to head over to Autumn's Hope. Here the gear vendor has an operator vest with the talent Vigorous on there. It has a gear score of 267. The armor is 1,838. Its roll for electronics 1,154. And attributes it has is skill haste, health on kill, and increased kill XP. And then also here we have a prototype electronics mod with 250 electronics and 3,314 skill power. For our next gear item, we're going to head over to the last call. Here the weapons vendor has a custom L86A2 with a gear score of 276. It has 20% damage to targets out of cover, and the talents it has is ferocious, adept, and brutal. Also here we got a heavy magazine spring with 3% crit hit chance, 4.50% reload speed, and 10.80% rate of fire. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to the ward. Here the gear vendor has operator pack with the talent relentless on there. It has the gear score of 273. The armor is 1,200. Its roll for stamina 1,226. And attributes it has is stability and bleed resistance. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to the firewall. Here the gear vendor has a prototype electronics mod with 255 electronics and 3,247 health. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to the crypt. Here the weapons vendor has a Vector 45 ACP with a gear score of 263. It has 19.50% crit hit chance, and the talents it has is fierce, ferocious, and meticulous. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to West 31st Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a prototype electronics mod with 253 electronics and 3,327 health. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to West 34th Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a tactical mask with the talent enduring on there. It has a gear score of 264. The armor is 886. Its roll for firearms 1,133. And the attributes it has is enemy armor damage and disorienting resistance. And then also here we got a prototype firearms mod with 263 firearms and 4% signature ability resource gain. For our next gear item, we're going to head over to West 39th Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a PP19 with a gear score of 267. It has 22% crit hit chance. And the talents it has is fierce, competent, and hurried. Also here we got a prototype performance mod with 2% post crit hit damage. For our next gear items, you want to head over to West 42nd Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a police UMP 45 with a gear score of 270. It has 22% crit hit chance, and the talents it has is vicious, skilled, and ambusher. Also here we got a prototype firearms mod with 258 firearms and 3,084 health. For our next gear item, we're going to head over to West 53rd Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a loud vent break with 19% crit hit damage, 5% optimal range, and 2% accuracy. For our next gear item, we're going to head over to East 64th Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone gear mod vendor has a prototype performance mod with 4% sticky bomb damage. And also here we got a prototype stamina mod with 255 stamina and 3% signature ability resource gain. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to East 61st Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone weapon mod vendor has a extended magazine with 114% magazine size, 4.50% reload speed, and 5.60% rate of fire. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to East 58th Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone gear vendor has a tactical mask with the talent enduring on there. It has a gear score of 273. The armor is 964. Its roll for electronics 1,121. And the attributes it has is crit hit chance and increased kill XP. Also here we got a gunslinger's vest with the talent vigorous on there. It has a gear score of 272. The armor is 1,897. Its roll for stamina 1,124. And the attributes it has is enemy armor damage, skill haste, and ammo capacity. And then also here we got a tactical pack with the talent inventive on there. It has a gear score of 271. The armor is 1,321. Its roll for electronics 1,117. And the attributes it has is skill power and ammo capacity. For our next gear item, is going to head over to the Park Ave checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone weapons vendor has a Navy MP5N with a gear score of 272. It has 19% crit hit chance, and the talents it has is hurry, deadly, and adept. Also here we got a custom M44 with a gear score of 258. It has 150% headshot damage, And the talent listed as is intense, competent, and disciplined. For our next gear item, we're going to head over to East 53rd Street Checkpoint. Here, the Dark Zone vendor has a prototype firearms mod with 257 firearms and 2% exotic damage resilience. For our next gear item, we're going to head over to East 46th Street Checkpoint. Here, the Dark Zone vendor has some tactical gloves with the talent Savaged on there. It has a gear score of 269. The armor is 920. Its roll for electronics 1,194, and the attributes it has is assault rifle damage, pistol damage, and skill haste. And then also here we have a heavy magazine spring with 4% crit hit damage, 2.50% crit hit chance, and 9.70% rate of fire. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to East 42nd Street Checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a tactical vest with the talent Reckless on there. It has a gear score of 277. The armor is 1,967. Its roll for stamina 1,210, and the attributes it has is enemy armor damage, health on kill, and ammo capacity. For our next gear item, we're going to head over to East 40th Street Checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a prototype electronics mod with 259 electronics and 3% skill haste. For our next gear item, we're going to head over to the 5th Ave Checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a classic AK-47 with a gear score of 279. It has 20% enemy armor damage, and the talent it has is brutal, deadly, and intense. For our next gear item, we're going to head over to DZ2 Safe Room. Here, the Dark Zone gear vendor has a gunslinger's vest with the talent Rapid on there. It has a gear score of 272. The armor is 1,926. Its roll for electronics 1,181, and the attributes it has is all resistance, enemy armor damage, increased kill XP. And then also here we have a Spec Ops pack with the talent Relentless on there. It has a gear score of 276. The armor is 1,316. Its roll for stamina 1,207, and the attributes it has is health and ammo capacity. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to DZ3 Safe Room. Here, the Dark Zone weapons vendor has an M870 Express with a gear score of 278. It has 304.50% stagger, and the talent it has is adept, determined, and deadly. For our next gear item, we're going to head over to DZ4 Safe Room. Here, the Dark Zone gear mod vendor has a prototype performance mod with 5% ballistic shield damage resilience. For our next gear items, you want to head over to DZ5 Safe Room. Here, the Dark Zone weapon mod vendor has a heavy magazine spring with 4% crit hit damage, 11.50% magazine size, and 10.60% rate of fire. For our next gear items, you want to head over to DZ8 Safe Room. Here, the Dark Zone gear vendor has a Spec Ops Armor with the talent Vigorous on there. It has a gear score of 264. The armor is 1,719. Its roll for electronics 1,173. And the attributes it has is skill haste, enemy armor damage, and increased kill XP. And then also here we got an operator pack with the talent Inventive on there. It has a gear score of 276. The armor is 1,226. Its roll for firearms 1,272. Max roll. And the attributes it has is crit damage and disrupt resistance. Alright everybody, that's it for our Tom Clancy's The Division Vendor Reset video for December 6th, 2019's reset. I hope everybody who tuned in found them something that they needed. Thank you to everybody who's dropping me those likes. Thank you to everybody who's subbed to the channel. I appreciate that support. And I will see y'all with the next one, everybody. Take care. Peace.